Studio Saturday at Alice Riot. We are so excited today because we have straight out of Hamburg, Stefanie Thiele is with us. Hello. And Kate Iverson and I are going to sit and have a conversation with Steph about all things happening with women and contemporary art and how we are all handling the continued pandemic that's keeping us all in our introverted states, which isn't such a bad thing, is it?
Oh. Well, that was my alarm saying the Zoom call is supposed to start. Well, hello everyone. I'm Kate Iverson. I'm the co-founder of Alice Riot. We're so happy to have Steph here with us all the way from Germany. It's like the modern technology, how amazing. So yeah, we just want to know, like, how are you doing during all this? Like, what's going on in Germany? Can you give us the lowdown?
Well, I personally am doing very well. I feel like all the bad stuff that is happening aside, I feel like this is a time where I have connected with people even more than before, almost. And it's just a little slower. It's we have a little more time to think about things that you have pushed off, and because you were so wrapped up in your daily life. And for me, it has been quite a nice break, actually. I feel like I have been able to do the most of the time. And I do feel ready to meet in restaurants again and meet friends, but for now I'm doing quite good, and everyone around me is doing well, and yeah, it's been okay.
Great, good. Yeah, like it's kind of the same over here for me, at least. Like, I work from home a lot, and I know you worked as an artist in your studio, predominantly you're full-time artist, and so yeah, it's like kind of the same thing. It's like I'm dealing with it well, but a lot of other people aren't, and but a lot of people are connecting on a whole nother level through social media and
Yeah.
Zoom we're on right now, and so it's changing the way people communicate, I think, which is a cool, interesting thing that hopefully will carry over, and people will be a little kinder to each other, even if things go back to normal, which I don't think they will go all the way back to normal, but as we become more comfortable in this state of mind, like this technology is definitely helping us. But anyway, speaking of you as an artist, and you were just telling us earlier before we got on the call that you walk to your studio every day. Like, how is like this whole thing kind of affected your work? And tell us a little bit of like your origin story as an artist. Like, how did you start becoming an artist?
Well, that's two very big questions. Okay, I became an artist over the course of many years, I feel. I have not always been interested in art. I mean, I like to draw like as a kid, and like to the usual amount, I feel. And then when I was 15, I got really into photography. We had a class in school where we developed our own film, and that really sparked my interest in just like visual image in general. And then I was set on becoming a photographer for quite a long time. I actually went to boarding school in the UK when I was 16, and stayed there for 5 years almost, even though it was just meant to be a gap year. But I kind of fell in love with the country and the language and the way people feel about art over there. I feel like it's much more appreciated, even though you're kind of here when you say you're an artist, you're kind of not looked down upon, but it's always followed by the question, and how do you make your money? And in the UK, I felt like it was, even though you were one of many, like almost every second person you meet says they're an artist, you still feel more appreciated and special. That was really nice, and all the cultural mix was very inspiring. And then after school, I did my A-levels in the UK, specialized on art and textiles and photography. And after that, I was originally going to study photography at university, but then decided to do a year trying to work with photographers as an assistant and trying myself out. And then I realized that I'm a very hands-on person, and I really like to work with materials, and that photography with my introverted heart wasn't really the job for me, because I felt like I had to work with people every day, which did seem quite daunting back then. And then I tried out I tried out glass blowing, I tried out woodwork and metalwork, and just fell in love with all these different materials. And then I had a little voice in my ear from my father who comes from a financial background. He's very practical and I'm very emotional. And then he got into my ear and said, well, if this art thing does not work out, wouldn't it be nice to have like a fallback, like an education that would secure an income? And then I found out about communication design. I mean, I didn't find out about it, but I kind of got to know it a little bit better and studied communication design here in Hamburg. So I moved back to Germany because I really missed my family and studied that for 3 years, got my bachelor's degree. And during that time, I realized that the world of advertising and being creative for commercial reasons was really not my thing. I was way too emotional for that, or emotionally motivated to create for that route. And so after that, I just focused on painting. I graduated, I focused on painting straight away every day, did some freelance jobs in photography and graphic design to get some money, and then just built my portfolio and built a following on Instagram and just got my art out there every day. And over the last, that was 2015, so 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, wow. Over the last 5 years, I have crawled my way up and met lots of lovely people, and now here I sit with you.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, like that's funny. You and I have a little bit of a similar background, and like I kind of started in photography, and I too didn't like the aspect of having to deal with people so much. Like I did wedding photography, I did photography for magazines. But my whole love was like the art photography, you know. So I totally get that, and I did graphic design as well, which I still do periodically. But like, yeah, that all of that kind of like led me to just kind of understanding what made me happiest was like creating art that had a little bit more of an abstract feel to it, that it was like really putting my emotions onto a canvas and like identifying with that part of me, as opposed to trying to force my art into being my job, which kind of have made art my job. And I mean, I still paint obviously, but like I have made art my job in those kind of ways where I can like, you know, do the things I want to do with it without like hating it, you know, because a lot of times when you take your passion and you turn it into your job, that's when you start like not enjoying it, you know. So I'm still very fortunate that I can still do creative things and I'm still happy to do it, you know, and I think that you're the same way. So I appreciate that. And so my other question was like, have you felt more inspired during the pandemic or less inspired? Because I felt less inspired to paint personally, but a lot of people have been more inspired. So tell us how you're feeling about that.
How come you felt less inspired?
I don't know, just something about like the whole like kind of dampening of like, you know, the freedoms that we normally have, and something about that like makes me feel low, you know, in a way. It's more because I'm worried about the economy rather than I'm worried about like us not surviving or you know, losing anything personally. It's just like this whole big everyone is going through it globally together in one way or another, and that just to me is depressing. And so somehow it's like dampening my creative spirit in a way, and I'm trying to get it back, and sometimes I'll like force myself to paint, and it's kind of hard for me to get there, but other people are flourishing with it, you know, so I kind of just like wonder how you are doing with it, because
I was actually quite lucky with the timing, because right before it all started to kind of seem like it was going downhill and we would be locked away, I got 2 big jobs, and I had a commission painting to do, so I would have locked myself away in my studio anyways. So it really didn't feel like didn't feel like a lot changed for myself in my daily business. So I had that to focus on, and because I was so busy, I just kept my high spirits. And then with seeing how people dealt with it on Instagram, I'm really active on Instagram. I talk to a lot of people, and I share a lot of my work in my stories. I really like to take people along during the day in my studio and just show snippets of my work. And that intensified a lot. Like I shared a lot more. I had so many lovely people message me and telling me that they are so entertained and inspired to keep working, because there are a lot of people that feel like you, that are quite depressed and down, and there are so many people that get inspired and get their strength from interacting with other people. And I, for myself, am not like this. I need time for myself to recharge, and then I can be like really outgoing and really bubbly. But I quite enjoy having downtime a lot for myself to think and work, and that's where I get my strength. So with all this social distancing, I feel like my batteries are more charged than ever, so I can be really loud on the internet with all my work, and I can put so much energy into creating, which I have been doing, and share that energy with other people, which has in turn given me so much joy and happiness. And I actually, one project, or many projects have been developing that would have never happened without the pandemic, and people having to find different ways to connect and like create jobs and opportunities. I'm working closely together with a social organization called Viva Con Agua. I don't know if you've heard of them. And they're a social business, and they build wells and in third world countries, and trying to get clean drinking water and hygiene education to everyone. Because like the hashtag is all for water, water for all, because every human on earth and every animal deserves clean drinking water. And yeah, I've been working with them a lot, and they have this whole they are very active on the internet as well, trying to get people working together from all over the world. So they've been into working like this anyways. And now that everyone is more focused on the digital world, like they have really stepped up their game and brought together so many artists. So that's really nice. And I've actually created a project that I have been thinking about for so long, also sparked by another artist I met over Instagram. And I've created some coloring book pages, which like this idea was in my head for so long, but I always put it off because it wasn't anything that would like develop into a bigger project, I felt like. And there was always a job that was to be done, and it was always on the back burner. And now with all this, like I don't have more time than usual, but I feel like because it's a little slower and not so many meetings that you have to go to, and I finally have the strength to use the time I had anyways, not to like sit in the corner and be exhausted, but use the time to do all the project that I had in mind, and that's been really nice as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, go ahead, Cal.
So we got two questions that are coming in from IGTV for you. One is, can you name that company again that you're working with?
And it's called Viva Con Agua.
Viva Con Agua.
Yes.
And everyone who's watching, like, we'll get this video up on YouTube eventually, and we'll put all the links that she's talking about in the comments, so everyone can find them for sure, and we'll post them on Instagram as well.
Perfect. Okay, so the next question we have is, what is your favorite internet-based platform for sharing your art? Is it Instagram?
Definitely Instagram.
Instagram.
I'm not a friend of Facebook. I've got a Facebook page, but I hardly use it. It just seems very confusing to me. I don't know why. And Instagram has definitely been the platform for me. I love it so much with those IG stories and IGTV now. I started using that for longer videos. I've been recording myself from start to finish, painting whole paintings as speed videos and as time-lapse, and that has been going up there. And I've just started getting into YouTube. I've just uploaded my first video there, but it's got like 4 views now. Still figuring that one out, but yeah, I love Instagram.
I love your Instagram feed. Like one of our other artists, Nita Ramos, also is great on Instagram too. But yours has, like, your feed is something about it. When I look, it's very tranquil in a way, and of course it has something to do with your art. But the way you present things is like the way you photograph things and show your processes and stuff. It's like something like really like tranquil and calming to me about it. And it's just really beautiful, beautifully curated feed with your own art, of course, you know.
Thank you. That's quite funny to hear from you, because I feel like, and I've been told so many times that my art is very overwhelming and so full and loud. And I kind of like this theme runs through my life that I don't really know when to stop. So I just pile on the paint and the patterns and the colors. And yeah, sometimes I look at my feed and I feel like, oh wow, that's like a ball pit of colorful, like these children ball pits.
I get that too, but like I'm like obsessed with color personally, as you can kind of tell by my shirt and my background here.
I love that, by the way. It fits together so well. I love the painting.
I didn't even plan this. I was like, I need to wear a crazy shirt, and then I was like, oh, it kind of matches, so whatever. But yeah, I mean, maybe I'm like a fan of like really bold, crazy colors and chaos and stuff. So, but yours, like, yeah, there is that color, and that's maybe like I kind of translate tranquil into like something that's just really beautiful and vibrant, you know, and something that has just so much like life and fullness and body to it, but it's somehow like calming. And you have, you know, when you're doing these paint mixing and pourings and things, and you know, you're making these beautiful like kind of languid patterns almost, and then you've got the pixel prints, which in itself is very like zen to me when you're thinking about like all these little cubes, like and when I think of you painting them, and when I see you painting in your process, like that I think is where I get that feeling. It's just like the way you create.
Thank you so much.
You know, so let's go back though too, because you know, you talk about, you know, the feedback that you've had on the work that you've done. I mean, take us a little bit through like I mean, I was just stunned when I first saw what you were starting to put together to work with us. And just take us through in terms of like, because there's a great story behind Sticks and Stones, the series that we have that we're representing for you. But talk about that approach and what that means, because it's fascinating. And I think it's easy to walk past Sticks and Stones and dismiss it as just pixelation. But there's actually something there to explore and to dive into.
Yeah, I've got actually quite a few comments that said like, oh, she's just painting colorful squares, like the standard sentence, like my 5-year-old kid could do that. Well, you've got an amazing 5-year-old kid there. Be proud.
I couldn't paint like that. I screwed up in the first 3 squares, like for sure.
Yeah.
Well, one of the simple things why I love doing it is because I love mixing colors. I love the meditation feel of just knowing what to do and ticking off the boxes, and like the very what's it called? Oh, I'm missing the word. Like the very technical aspect of learning how to mix every single shade and not having one shade on there that is exactly the same, and having this giant white canvas just slowly filling up with all the little colorful squares. That's just so much joy to me. And on the more emotional side of things is that these pixel paintings have developed from me painting abstract and very wild and just emotionally driven. And then I often felt overwhelmed, and I got to the studio and didn't really know what to do, and felt like I was stuck with one painting and I didn't know how to proceed. And then I started playing around with my camera again, and I got into this technique of recycling my paint, because again, I didn't want to be I wanted to watch how wasteful I am, because I always felt like painting is not very constructive to the environment anyway, so I wanted to do the most out of it and create as little waste as possible. That is a whole different thought coming in from the side now, sorry. And I started recycling my paint. I stopped washing off my palettes and started letting it dry and scraping it off and collecting the little dried pieces of paint and creating collages from those. And Sticks and Stones is actually a painting that was created by painting a wild abstract, then using the dried paint and to create a collage photographing that collage, messing around with it in Photoshop, so using all my photography and graphic design skills, bringing that back into like a little history, and then painting that pixel pattern I created in Photoshop back onto a canvas. And then that created more excess paint that dried, new collages, and so the recycling process goes on and on and on, and creates infinite work for myself. And that's like work I can go to when I feel lost. So that gives me a lot of stability. Hello, Karma. We have a little visitor. Yeah, so that's like a mental health aspect that comes into play, which is a very important piece of the puzzle, no pun intended, for my whole work. Yeah,
that's beautiful. That's wonderful. People hearing that backstory helps them even like connect to that more, because you're taking like, you know, the chaos of an abstract and the aftermath and the recycling it into something, and then using all your skills together. I mean, that's like a multi-layered, no pun intended, you know? So yeah, I appreciate that. And on that note, like if we pivot into like, you know, when we found you on Instagram, like, I mean, basically Kelly and I continuously, I mean, Instagram is a big place where we look for our artists and, you know, see what's trending, see who's interacting with who. It's like kind of just like a really great platform to discover new artists. And that's where we discovered you. And so, yeah, I think, you know, when we saw your artwork, you know, from the paint mixing and the chips and these like beautiful pixel paintings, we thought any of that would make just like such a great print for an Alice Riot skirt. And so, yeah, I kind of wanted to know, like, when we approached you, had you like considered applying your work to anything other than just a canvas or collage or photography? Like, were you like, have you, how has the experience been for you, like placing your artwork on clothing as opposed to a canvas? And like, have you done anything like that since?
I've actually always dreamed about wrapping myself in my canvases. I'd love to roll around in my paint and just have it all over. So you approaching me and telling me that it could be on the scarves and dresses and skirts was so amazing. Like that was a dream come true. And I actually worked together with a music festival in Australia before in 2017, and they printed an artwork on a bag and a shirt, but that was just like a little print on the front, so that was cool. I really liked seeing that, but that was nowhere like near being wrapped in a dress head to toe, so that was a very, very special moment for me to work with you.
Oh, wonderful. We were so happy you agreed. And we love your print, and it looks great. If everyone wants to go check out AliceRiot.com, you can see Steph's stuff there. We've got not only her original works and a couple of smaller works as well, and for sale in our original link. And we've got midi skirts, pencil skirts, sleeveless sheath dresses, and scarves, all with her print on it, and they look amazing. You can go check them out on AliceRiot.com. Yeah, aside from that, like, have you, like, as far as like the talking about originals, you know, like in this COVID-19 era, have you had like shows canceled? Have you had like people more interested in purchasing your art, and like how or not? I mean, I know everyone's kind of on this economic downturn and being careful, but like I'm seeing a lot of galleries pop up with like virtual exhibits and things like that. So how aside from Instagram, like how have you been like dealing with this like confinement without being able to exhibit and things like that?
I've actually found that on Instagram people really got together to support each other. There's an artist pledge where artists buy other artists' work to create like momentum and inspire other people to purchase art. And I have actually found that like lots of people support us, and especially with staying home, lots of people want to have nice things to look at in their home. So it's actually played out quite well for us artists. I didn't have any shows planned except the one festival that I'm very, very heartbroken about that's not happening. That is also from Millantor Gallery, the art sector from Viva Con Aqua. I was going to work with them and work with the whole festival they create is done by volunteers, and I was going to volunteer and work with the curation team, and I was so looking forward to learning about curation because I'm not that good at it. I like to just hang everything full, and yeah, I was looking forward to that, and I would have had work in that show, but that's going to happen next year. So, and until then, we just use the internet to show our work, and I've got a couple of submissions going from different art websites with online exhibitions that I'm still waiting for for the results. But yeah, keep your fingers crossed for me. That would be amazing if one of them would accept my work. But besides that, I'm just continuing to be the one-woman show and just, I don't know, showing myself on the internet and trying to get people to feel inspired and be active. And because I really do believe that art can mend your soul and help you through tough times. So yeah, I'm not too worried about shows not happening or sales not happening, because I'm just so grateful about all the feedback I'm being given and connecting with other people. And I feel like throughout my life, it's always been the case that I've worked very hard and results didn't show immediately. But as I kept going, like it's like planting an apple seed, and then 3 years later I noticed something amazing happening, and then I realized, yeah, that's the stuff that I started working on 3 years ago, and now people remember me for it, and now they have the time to act on it. And yeah, I really feel like I'm what's it called, I'm harvesting I'm harvesting a lot of fruits that I have planted years ago. And it's just coincident that it's happening right now during this tough time. But it's kind of saving me now.
Yeah, I love that analogy, and I think it's so true. I mean, in where I live in Northeast Minneapolis, I've been participating in it for 15 years each year. We have a huge festival called Outta, and it's basically like in my neighborhood, it's like the arts district, and we have like a number of huge studio buildings. There are like, you know, thousands of artists that participate in this big festival every year. It's like an open studio crawl type of a thing throughout the neighborhood. And it's just a huge fun neighborhood party for a weekend. And that got canceled, of course, you know. And so, but they happened to kind of pivot it to like do a virtual art row where they took all these like artists and they just kind of gave them like an online shopping platform online, and whether it's linked to their website or they could kind of populate using an online store via the Northeast Minneapolis Arts Association website. And, you know, I was real skeptical. I was like, well, I'm not doing it this year. I can't have my studio open. Like, how's that going to work? And, but then like, you know, when the weekend came, I was on that website looking at all these links of all these artists. I discovered a ton of like new artists, and I bought probably like 6 or 7 new pieces of art myself throughout the weekend. And I even like was texting with my good friend Susanna, who like, you know, we would always go to like do Art World stuff together, and you know, we were able to kind of shop together and like send each other links and stuff. And so I think there is, you know, as artists maybe are feeling, some artists are feeling the pain over this and not being able to do their physical in-person gallery shows or you know, festivals and things like that. I think there is definitely a possibility for like these online platforms to be like even a bigger thing for artists than they already are. Like, I mean, we have got Instagram, which is wonderful for artists, but like doing like more like online shopping for art and things like that. I think, I hope and I think that it will become a better platform for artists to sell their work, you know? So yeah.
Definitely, you know, and I also think too, and as we continue to think about what we're going to be doing moving forward, is I think people are in a position, those who have the means are thinking differently about how they spend. And so, you know, when I think about purchasing something, I'm far less inclined just to buy something because I can or because it's trendy. It's looking more at, am I going to put down some money? Am I going to invest in something? And, you know, that's been our proposition all along, is if you're going to purchase something that you wear, purchase something that's helping someone along the way, purchase something that's going to stand out and be limited. You know, you're not going to find this at the major department stores. You're not going to find this on Amazon. It's a very exclusive type of experience. And I think we're going to continue to think about how we do that moving forward. You know, right now we're focused on the apparel pieces. Who knows what the future is looking like? I mean, one of the things we're also talking about with Alice Riot is the upcycling options that we have. How can we take things that have been in one format and reimagine them in a different way? So, for example, we, and Steph, this was prior to our engagement with you, when we did our very first collection, we had a 3/4 sleeve dress, and we've discontinued it because it was the one product we couldn't get the fit right. And so it didn't make sense to continue with it. But the inventory we have for that is being repurposed now to, you know, throw pillow covers. So if you're looking at, you know, decorating a space, so for instance, I'm looking at it, you know, this is my home office. You know, I like to have things in here that have a story behind them, a nice touch of art, obviously. And, you know, this is an opportunity for me to put an Alice Riot on my couch here. So I could see having different ways of providing people with the opportunity to support women artists and experience that. Because honestly, part of the thing we have to be really thoughtful about is, you know, we're so focused on how women dress when they go to work. Well, work's starting to change.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we have to think about how do we stay fresh and different for someone. If the idea, you know, I have friends who are saying they're not going back to their offices until at least January. So yeah, so we have to, you know, be thinking about how do we deliver art experiences for women in a variety of different ways.
Yeah.
That's definitely something we have to be thinking about in terms of how people view the idea of investing in art and how it's different.
And, you know, I am not saying the pandemic's a good thing by any means, but the idea of like people really recognizing small businesses, artists included, and wanting to support them. And it's like with so many people's livelihoods kind of going away or being like reduced significantly, you know, the whole idea behind like supporting artists and supporting like your neighborhood restaurant and things like that are very amplified now, which is such a wonderful thing. And I'm hoping that, you know, once we kind of somewhat come out the other side of this, that like people will hold on to that, and like that collecting art will be like an easier sell, because it is something, it's like, to me, when I buy a piece of art from an artist, it's like I'm buying in to their soul and their creativity, and I get to own this piece of work that they made out of their heart, you know. And I think it's really important. I think it's one of the most personal things you can own. It's one of the most like, it's something you have forever too, you know. If you like, you can see just this little wall behind me, like that's just like a small portion of my art collection.
She's got 7 new pieces from Art World. She's got to find space on her walls for them.
Well, yeah, a few of them already came here, my flat files, until I can get them framed. And even then, like, I like to rotate my art collection, you know, sometimes, and, you know.
But that's one thing I've noticed. We have quite the exhibition going on here across our 3 screens.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What was that on your wall, Steph? Who are those by?
That one is from Helen Hu. On Instagram, Who is Helen Hu? A very lovely artist. I've fallen in love. I can't take it off the wall, but it's like this really dreamy, for me it's a seascape. It's like stones, and she creates these round canvases. I mean, it's a wooden plate, a wooden board, and has these cut out of stones on them. And then I don't know how she does it, but she creates with, I think she uses like epoxy resin, and creates these different translucent layers, and has like these fog in between. I can't. That's one thing why I love it so much. I can't understand how she does it, but it's like this really dreamy seascape that I think I got it in 2017 or 18. And next to that is a piece I painted. That's shameless self-promotion right there in the background. That was also, I did, that's, again, it feels like I'm being paid to just talk so much about it, but that's actually also for Viva Con Aqua. I did an Instagram takeover on the Millantor Gallery channel and had one full day where I could just put fill their story with whatever I wanted. And I spent the day in my studio and asked everyone who was watching the stream to tell me what to paint, to do this giant online collaboration. So everything that's on there, wait, I can get it. Everything that is on this painting was said by someone who, it's so shiny. Was said by someone who watched me paint. So someone said they wanted a skull, someone said they wanted a little paper boat, a bird.
I love it. That is fantastic.
A thought and an abstract hug someone wanted. So yeah, and that's the result. It's really
fun. Oh, that's so fun. Are they selling prints of that, or how does it tell us about
I'm selling, I sold the original that has been sold straight away, which was so nice. And now I'm selling prints that are limited to 25 pieces. And half of the proceeds are going straight to support Viva Con Aqua and building more wells and
wonderful.
So we just send people to your Instagram handle, and there's a link to purchase in your bio, right?
Yes, so you can find the picture feed, and then that will lead you to it.
Excellent, good. So it's interesting. The other piece up there that that Who is Helen Who made, that one reminds me of the artist Marilyn Minter, who does these very. It almost looks like you're looking through a damp window when you're looking at her paintings, and that one reminds me of that aesthetic. That is really cool. So cool.
I've got another piece that I need to show you.
Cool.
That's the latest one I bought just over 2 weeks ago. That's the artist is called Eubel Art on Instagram, and that's just insane skills. The lines are so clean.
Yeah,
so cool. I really love it.
Right.
I love art. So fun.
Me too.
I love art.
Yeah. Well, Steph, it was so great talking to you today. I loved reconnecting with you. I know we haven't spoken since New York. Steph actually came out to New York for our launch party last fall, last September, and spent a week in New York with her friend, and we just had the best time seeing you there, and it was a fun time. But thank you so much for talking with us, and to everyone watching. Yeah, the links for everything will be in the bio or down in the comments section on YouTube, and we'll post them on Instagram too, so we can get you all to Steph's projects that she's working on, and her Instagram and her website, and our website where her clothing is featured. So yeah, Kelly, have anything to add?
I'm just so delighted. Let's do this again, Steph. This is fun. Yeah. Absolutely, and stay safe, stay healthy, and we love art. We'll talk again soon and talk more art. Bye.
Yes, let's do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.